What's up, everybody? Alan here. All right, we're going to take a look at a new component for Foliage Renderer Object Module. I had to remember what the heck I was even doing. Okay, so we're here in our Object Collate test scene. We have a new component here, Child Instance Provider. So in the Collate test scene that you're used to looking at, there's a billion little game objects in here, all supplying and modifying the bounds of this batch, right? And Object Module sort of internally manages batching, so you don't get very many submits. So you get like just one submit for your thing. This is handy because it's really stupid simple, right? If you only need a couple things, you just slap this on there, and then hey, you collated your object with all the other instances of the thing you're rendering with the scene, and you're good to go. Cool. But what if you don't have instances of this thing in your scene, right? Like all your trees are in FR like normal, but now you have some special case. You need floating gemstones or something you can't put on the terrain. So they're not being drawn anywhere else. This actually becomes really inefficient because now you have the overhead of a whole provider for just one thing. Whereas before you're like, oh, hey, I can pay the cost of the provider for my couple things I need. And it's easy and straightforward. And then I don't have the overhead of rendering both direct and indirect. I just want to render a whole new thing indirect that I wasn't already rendering. Okay, well then this is not the move, right? So child instance provider here, there's a copy in the scene. This new thing, right? You want to have a mesh renderer. It functions a lot like game object provider. You basically want to have a thing that you want to render, but then you want to render it in a bunch of spots. And so it takes all of the child game objects and it submits these as a batch. And I'll probably do some work on this to optimize it down the road some more. But for now, short term, this does most of the business. To avoid the overhead, you still have the cost of all the game objects. There's like a more complicated editor workflow to make that doable at some point where we don't have to have the game objects. But for now, you have to have all these transforms in here. Right, and these are just completely blank, but we can move this guy around and then we can come back here, and if we refresh him, we'll get it refreshed. I need to put a refresh button in here, but you get the idea. You can also run this in local space. There's a checkbox for that. That would make all these disappear and act as if they were all positioned at 0, 0, which if your content supports that is faster. So depends on your game, but I gave it to you there. Auto-populate children, this will automatically grab again. You probably have to toggle the thing on and off short term, but there you go. Probably want force refresh on enable. And then there's a button here to grab children. So if you add things, right, if we boop, move that somewhere, and then boop, move that somewhere, and then we'll go here, and we'll say grab those, but it hasn't resubmitted yet because that doesn't mark it as dirty. So there's a little bit of cleanup for me to do still. But you get the idea. The great advantage here is instead of having a provider for each of these all checking update, late update, and fixed update for their timing they care about, we have the overhead of a single provider. So if you need to have all your floating rocks, and like Object Module doesn't do any sort of clever cellularization of your scene or anything, right? It's kind of like on you to like, don't screw up, don't be a dingus. This will sort of let you like make your own little cells. Be like, all right, I want to put everything in this little bucket here. You could automate that process with the tool pretty easily. Hey, grab all the instances of my thing, make the middle one the parent, put all the other ones in as children, strip off all the rendering components, call populate, which is public function, and you'll be most of the way there. So here you go. A little rough around the edges at the moment. I'll probably add a little bit more cleanup before I push this to UAS. But this will get you quite a bit of flexibility. You have lots of options with this at this point, which is great. And it will be significantly faster for those of you who are trying to draw a whole new thing a whole new way, instead of just like, hey, I need to garnish in this one little accent here and there, which the old system will, which is still present. I'm not getting rid of anything. The old system is set up for that sort of model. Cool. Questions or concerns or thoughts, as always, leave them in the comments or hit us up on the Discord. Thanks, everybody.